been so frustrated about my weight, like I said, most of my life. So, actually seeing the changes in my body, being able to fit into these clothes that have been sitting there just in case they fit in the future. And now being in the future and them actually fitting, it's just so rewarding.
Welcome in, Karina. Super excited to have you for this interview. Before we dive into your transformation and how you've gotten the results that you've gotten, could you start off with just introducing yourself to everybody, who you are, a little bit of background on you, where you live, what you do for work, that type of stuff?
Yeah, so my name is Karina. I live in Texas. I was actually born and raised in California, and I moved out to Texas 3 years ago. I work for a contractor under DHS, and when the border shut down, we were asked to go around and help different offices across the US. So that's what I've been doing for the past year.
Okay, cool. And so I assume there's like a lot of travel and and dealing with a lot of like changes with with that nature of work, right?
Yes. So I travel every other week. Sometimes I'm out for 3 weeks at a time, and I get to come home for 1 week. And it was getting really crazy for me, just eating out all the time and, going to fast food. I found myself gaining more weight than I already had on.
Mhm.
And I was getting to a point where I was easily getting winded walking through the airport. I was profusely sweating, and I felt embarrassed. So when I saw your ad on Instagram, I'm like, let me give this a try.
Yeah. Wow. And since you've started with us, what it's been 4 or 5 months now? 5 months?
I think Charlene said it was about 4.
4 months? When did we start? Let me actually I want to take a look at this together too, because I haven't looked at your data yet. Let's see, you started April 29th. You're
Okay.
312 pounds, and
Yeah.
then as of yesterday, 272. What is that? That's a 40-pound difference.
Yeah.
Wow, in 4 months. That's amazing. What is your, let's start from the beginning. So let's see, this was, if it'll load here. So this was okay, so May 1st, and then this is the 7th, so a few days ago. Wow. This is an insane difference, Karina. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Wow. How do you feel? Like, what's changed for you?
I feel like I'm more motivated on a daily basis. Just this week, I changed my schedule. I was going to bed super late, and then there's weeks where I work from home. So I would wake up like 5 minutes before I had to clock in, and I was just groggy and tired the entire day.
Mm,
So Charlene and I came up with a plan, and I was like, okay, I want to go to bed earlier so I can wake up earlier and, you know, get in my steps and do a workout. That way I feel prepared for the rest of the day and I'm awake.
yeah.
So just that small change this week
Wow.
has been so big. I've gotten my steps in before 7 a.m. every day. So I feel like I have more energy. When I started the program, I was really like freaking out because I kept thinking back to the previous diets that I had been on. And I was like, I can't eat this because it has carbs during keto. I did keto for some time. And just coming to the realization that you can eat what you want as long as you eat it, in moderation instead of sitting down with a tub of ice cream and eating the whole thing. Like you
Yeah.
can have a couple bites or, like the serving size and you should be fine. So that has been real eye-opening to me that, I don't have to be on this restrictive diet, that I can't have any of the things that I enjoy.
Yeah. What are some of the things you enjoy that you've been able to incorporate?
So I love pastries. That I kind of cut down a lot. Um, I really like chocolate, so I started looking for like dark chocolate or like 70% cacao.
Yeah.
So, it hits the sweet tooth, but it's not too damaging to my macros.
So true.
And
Yeah.
I actually went out and bought the creamy
Oh
to
yeah.
make ice cream.
Nice.
So I've been using, instead of using like milk, I use protein shakes.
Yeah.
So that has been really good also. I'm like, okay, now I can have
Awesome.
my chocolate ice cream and
Yeah.
be okay with it because I'm hitting my protein goals.
Yep, exactly. Did you see Lucas's post about
Yeah,
his recipe? He's got
yeah,
it down to a science. Like he's even got the right ratio of xanthan gum and other things for like the right texture. So
yeah.
that's awesome.
That's actually what inspired me to buy it. I'm like, you know what? I want ice cream too.
Yeah. Before you had done this, what can you walk me through what were the different things that you had tried?
So I've been overweight the, I would say, the entirety of my life. Um, I remember when I was in elementary school, I was in fifth grade, and before we went off to like middle school, they had like a physical exam for everybody. And at 10 years old, I think I was 180 pounds. So since that age, um, just the environment at home was always like, okay, you're overweight, you shouldn't be this size, let's try this. So I did acupuncture when I was like 13. At the age of 14, my mom took me to some doctor and they were giving me like fat burning pills and water retention pills so that I wouldn't retain water. I don't know what any of that stuff actually did to me, but I did lose weight,
Yeah.
but I was also not eating. So it wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Um, Moving forward, I tried just going to the gym and, eating salads, eating veggies and chicken, but all of that became very boring. So I stopped. And then I tried keto and I did keto for like a month and it was fine. I lost a lot of weight. But as soon as I stopped, it all came back plus more.
Yeah.
So I had attempted it again, but this time my body was just not having it. Like I was constantly feeling really sick and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, there has to be something out there that I can do because as I'm getting older, the weight was getting to be too much. My knees are really bad still. After a few work warm-ups, like they kind of relax. I'm
Nice.
able to do my lunges, which are
Good.
the bane of my existence. But after I'm done with my workouts, I feel so good.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. What do you think is different about this approach versus what you've tried in the past?
I feel like this time I was more motivated to actually make a change.
Yeah.
Um, I always thought of like dieting and all these different things as a waste of money.
Mm,
So when I talked to you, I was like, okay, it's a little pricey, but I took it as an investment in myself. When I lived in California, I met someone and she said, why do Mexicans always think of money as a waste of money? like when you're trying to do something for yourself.
Mm,
So that rang in my head, and I'm like, you know what? It's true. It's an investment in yourself to better yourself. So
mm,
it's like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I know that this investment in myself is going to reap some great benefits. So that changed my mindset, and you know everything that you guys have taught us along the way has just changed the way I have a relationship with food. Like now I don't think of food as something that I'm going to indulge in. I see it as fuel for my body to get through whatever it is I need to get through the
yeah.
day.
Yeah, 100%. That's so cool. And it's so fascinating you bring that up actually, because that kind of reminds me of my own upbringing too, and like our relationship to the way we view like money and spending it too. Like I remember like my dad's an immigrant, and so it's always like save, save, save. Like, my mom too, and they were like, how much did you spend on that? What's your like what
Yeah,
is everything was always like, how much did you spend? Oh, I got this on sale. Look at this. Like, you know. So I get that thinking. In terms of the investment for the program, would you say it's been worth it for you?
definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely,
That's
because
awesome.
my whole mindset has done a complete 180.
Mm. Talk to me a little more about that. What do you think has changed in your mind and the way you approach things now versus what you had tried in the past?
So I had a big fight with my husband to start off with because he said, "That's a lot of money, Karina, and you've done so many things and you never pulled through and you always quit." And I was like, "No, like this time I'm going to do it." And yeah, there were some times where I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? Can I do this? Can I do that?" And I was like so fixated on the numbers and the macros, and like I would spend tons of time just like trying to figure out what I could eat. And then we'd pass by like a food place, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, I want a burger." And then he'd be like, "No, you can't have a burger." And I was like, "I can have a burger, but instead of doing a beef burger, I'm going to do a turkey burger. Instead of doing a regular bun, I'm going to swap it out with like a keto bun or something."
Yeah.
So you can enjoy the foods you want. You can make simple changes to it, and it makes a lot of difference.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's like one of the things. Like, okay, I can enjoy all the foods that I wanted. I can just make like little tweaks here and there so that it's not unhealthy per se.
Mhm. Yeah, so true. Or at least that it like fits in to the macros better. And there's
Yeah.
like it's like we always say, there's a trade-off for it. It's like if you want the full burger and fries, you can have it. Just know that it's gonna take up most of your fats for the day.
Yeah.
What does your husband think about this now?
Now he's like super motivated. He's always telling me, "Are you going to exercise? Are you going to do your workouts? Are you going to do your workouts? It's getting late. Are you going to do your workouts? Did you get your steps in?" So he has changed because he sees differences in me.
Yeah.
My mindset, the body. I think it was like month two that I was in the program that he like wrapped his arms around me, and he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I haven't been able to wrap my arms around you since I met you."
Wow.
So to him, that was just like, "Oh my God, you're making all these changes." And he's like really supportive now. He's like, "Yeah, keep going. Like, don't give up. You got this."
Yeah. That's incredible. Wow. Yeah. How about your colleagues, coworkers, or other family members? Have they noticed anything?
Yeah, I went to California last month, and my brother, when he saw me, he was like, "Oh my God, you're skinny." And I was like, "You're exaggerating, but yes, I have lost some weight." Uh, I went up to Columbus, and I saw family members there too, and they told me the same thing. They're like, "Have you lost weight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have."
You're like, yeah,
So
40
it's
pounds
notable.
actually in 4 months.
Yeah,
That's
and my
awesome.
clothes fit so much looser, and I have a picture The
Yeah.
last picture I took before I started this journey, and I told my husband, I said, I want to recreate this photo when I'm done with the program so we can see the changes. I'm gonna wear the exact same outfit because
Yes.
when I saw that picture, I was like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
Like you could barely see my eyes because my cheeks were so big. They're
Mm.
still a little big, but my husband told me, he's like, you have bigger eyes now.
That's so funny. Tell us the seatbelt story too.
Oh, yes. Um, so I was always, well, I had purchased a seatbelt extender because I was so embarrassed to keep asking for one whenever I got on an airplane. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy my own. That way I don't have to ask. I'll just carry it with me in my pocket and I'll like discreetly pull it out because it was embarrassing for me. And then one day I left it at a hotel, I don't know where, and I was like, damn, I have to ask for a seatbelt extender now. So I didn't want to purchase another one because I'm like, I'm just gonna lose it again. So
Hmm.
then I would ask for the seatbelt extender and I would always ask like try to be like really quiet about it. And sometimes like the flight attendants would be like, oh yeah, I'll bring it to you. But some would be like, what? I didn't
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. So a couple months ago, I think, um, I went on an airplane. I got upgraded to first class, and I'm like, okay, the seats are roomier. You know, I did need the seatbelt extender, so I was like, okay, that's good. But I was like, the seats are comfier, they're bigger, so the seatbelt's a bit longer. So
Hmm.
then the next flight, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna ask for a seatbelt extender. I'm gonna go and take a seat, and I always find like seats in the back of the plane. So I went and I sat down, and like I pulled the seatbelt, and it buckled, and I was like, oh my God, I'm actually doing it. I'm losing weight.
Yeah.
So then, I think like a few flights after that, like I buckled the seatbelt and then like it pulled on the strap a little, and I was like, oh my God, I'm losing more weight.
Yeah.
And then my belly is big, so I would always like if I try to pull the tray table down, like it would rest on my belly and it would just be like sloped.
Hmm.
So I was like, yeah, like I would never pull it down. So I would be like with my little cookies and my drink in my hand, trying to like open the
Mm.
bag and not spill my drink. So then one day I was like, I think I can pull this down. And I was by myself in the row, so I was like, okay, no one is gonna see if, if it doesn't come down. So I pulled the tray table down and it went all the way down, and I was like,
Wow.
I did it. And it's been the same with my clothes. My sister gave me a blouse that she brought me from Mexico, and it was in my closet for like 3 or 4 years. And then I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try it on again. And he was like, okay. So I pull out the top and I put it on, and it fit a little loose, and I just cried. I was
Wow.
like, it's been in my closet for 3 years and it didn't fit, and now it does. And
Wow.
I just started crying. I was like, okay, I'm finally doing something for myself and it's paying off.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that. Wow. What were you feeling in that moment?
Uh, I've been so frustrated about my weight, like I said, most of my life. So, actually seeing the changes in my body, being able to fit into these clothes that have been sitting there just in case they fit in the future. And now being in the future and them actually fitting, it's just so rewarding. And I feel like that's what gives me more motivation to keep going.
That's awesome. What would you tell your older self from like a couple months ago or even like a year ago or 5 years ago? What would you tell her?
I actually was talking with Shalin about this the other day, and I got really emotional and I started crying. Um, I was telling him that when I was like my senior year in high school, I played soccer. I was still heavy, but I felt like I was a healthy heavy.
Mhm.
I could run, I could play both halves of the game and just like run and not be, extremely tired as opposed to how I was last year trying to walk up a flight of stairs and just like winded and dying and like sweating. So I was telling him that I wanted to go back to that weight that I was when I was in high school because that's when I feel like I was the healthiest,
Yeah.
but that's when I treated myself the worst.
Uh,
So I've always been super critical about myself. I would make comments about myself around other people
mhm.
because to me it was like, well, if I talk bad about myself, nothing you can say to me is going to hurt me. Like you can't bully me because, I already talk bad to myself.
Wow.
So just being nicer to that version of myself, like things get better. Um, and actually I didn't mention it to him. It's gonna get dark. But at that time, I felt like I didn't have a lot of support from my family, and I
Yeah.
actually attempted suicide.
Wow.
And this is all related to my weight. Um, my family, um, we have this really toxic trait where we kind of bully each other, and that's like our way of showing love, but it's toxic.
Yeah.
Um, so just embracing myself and loving myself. I feel like that's something that I've learned how to do. And that is something that I wish I could tell myself when I was younger. Like, love yourself and, treat yourself kindly instead
Yeah.
of bullying yourself.
Yeah. That's so powerful. That reminds me of a quote I heard that was like, if if being hard on yourself worked, it would have worked by now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so true. Like everything in our society is all about like, oh, you just gotta tough it out. You gotta just,
Yeah.
force yourself to, beat yourself up to get there. And it's like, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And actually,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that like my husband has helped me a lot with also. Um, like I stopped doing that, but like every now and then I'll slip into like my old habits and I'll say something and then he'll be like, "Why are you being mean to yourself? Like why are you talking to yourself that way?
Hmm.
Like you only have you. Like be kind to yourself." And then I'm like, "Okay, yeah, he's right." So it it was like up here, now it's like down here. But yeah, I'm trying to be nicer to myself. There's days where I've just like completely gone off the rails. And when I started the program, to me, it was like, how dare you do this? Like, you're investing so much into this, and like you've come this far, and now you're just gonna like give up. And Shalin was like, like you can give yourself a little breathing room. Like, it's not always going to be perfect. So that's something that I've come to learn and accept also that, we're not perfect. Not every single day or every single week is going to be exactly what it needs to be. And that's
Yeah.
okay. One bad day isn't going to ruin all the process if you made over the weeks or over the months.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. What are some of the like, how do you talk to yourself now? Like, can you give some examples of that?
So, like this morning, we went to the park. I tried to take my dogs, but yesterday one of my dogs just like saw the vehicle and he like ran straight to the car and he was just like, no, like we're done for the day. So
Yeah.
my husband said, like let's bring them one day and then the next day it's just us two so that you can get your workout in. So this morning we went and we walked a few laps. And then I told him, I was like, there's like a staircase. Like, I want to go run up the steps. And he was like, I'm really tired. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to do it, then we can go home. So we're reaching the car. And then he's like, where are you going? And I was like, well, you said we were done. And he was like, no, you want to go do the stairs or we're going to go do the stairs. And I was like, all right, cool. So I like ran down the stairs. And then like on the second time coming up, I was like, I'm tired. Like I can't do this anymore. And he was like, really? He's like, because I think you can. And I was like, you know what? I'm here. I might as well do it. So I went down the stairs and I was looking up at the stairs and I was like, oh my God, am I really gonna do this? And I was like, all right, Karina, you got this. Like I kept like pumping myself up. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, like you've done more than this. Like you
Yeah.
got this. You're lighter. You're not carrying 40 pounds of extra weight anymore. It's going to be easier. So
Mhm.
I ran up the stairs and then I did like three more. So in total, I did like 5 sets. And I
Wow.
was like, all right, cool. I'm good for now.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like even when I'm like prepping food, like I'll be like, okay. Sometimes I'll go to the app and I'll try like different ingredients and then I'll look at the macros and like, okay, I can add this, or you know what, this is too much fat, so maybe reduce it a little or find a substitute. So I'm I feel like I've been really diligent with that and just, trying to make sure that I implement all the stuff that you guys have taught us.
Mm, that's awesome. Wow. And it's clearly paying off so much. You mentioned the app. Can you walk us through like how would you describe the structure of the program as a whole to somebody who isn't in it?
Well, I did talk to my mom about it because she was asking me, she was like, oh yeah, like I heard your brother keeps telling me that you're like on this journey, on your wellness journey. And she was like, how does that work? So I told her, I was like, okay, so like it's an online coach and you talk about your goals and what you want to achieve. And then they have like little sample meal plans. And then they give you like a list of macros that you need to hit. Like it tells you how much fats you can have, how many carbs you can have, how much protein, and they give you examples of each. And then you have a calorie target. So then you try to figure out, okay, what am I going to have for breakfast? And then you see how it fits into your macros. Then you
Mhm.
figure out what you need to have for lunch, what you need to have for dinner. And then you could just play around with the meals. Like if you want to have a bigger breakfast and like a smaller dinner, you can do that. There's just little tweaks here and there. And then you have your exercises. So I try to do them at least 3 times a week. I should be a little more diligent. I wanted to get in 4 workouts, but I've been dealing with like some strain in my shoulder. So
Oh,
sometimes it gets a little worse. So I'm like, okay, maybe not today.
careful with that one.
But
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but it's just your nutrition and supplementing with the workouts and getting in your steps, doing some walking. I found that since I started trying to hit my steps, because before I just sat here on my desk for 8 hours straight.
Mm,
And by the time I got up, I was like, oh, my back hurts, my legs hurt, like I'm cramping up.
yeah.
And once I started trying to hit my steps, I felt like a lot of the brain fog was gone.
Mm,
And ever since I switched this week to going on walks in the morning, it's been night and day.
wow. Yeah. The
I
morning,
feel
doing stuff in the morning, isn't it crazy how it just changes the trajectory of the whole day?
Yeah, like I feel like I get so much more done now.
Wow. That's really cool. You should post that one in the Wins channel of the I switched to the morning walks. We need to get more people on that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Um, anything else that you want to share about your experience or things that you feel like people watching this should know?
I always feel like I don't have a lot to contribute, but then Shalin always tells me, hey, like people are talking about your experiences and they're saying that they've experienced the same thing also. And but to me, it's always like, okay, it's not about me, it's about, everyone else.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm just really thankful that, you came across my IG. Um, like I said, my relationship with food has not been the greatest. And, working out, walking, all these things were stuff that, took second place. I was constantly tired. Like I always wanted to take a nap or just come home and sleep. And now it's like, what do we do? Where do you want to go? Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go do this. The town where I live is pretty small.
Yeah.
It's southwest border of Texas. So there's not a lot of stuff to do. So I just told my husband, hey, like, let's just go walk around the mall. And he says now that, we're actually going out more than before when I would just come home and sleep, wake up the next day. He'd be like, hey, can we go somewhere? And I'd just be like, no, I'm tired. And I was always tired. And I was
Mm.
tired of being tired. So that's why I was like, okay, it's time for a change.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I feel a similar gratitude to you for just yeah, that we crossed paths. I got to meet you and like you have been a force of nature to just watch you just like you just really took your health into your hands and you just have like it's like you just watching somebody take the bull by the horns, you know? And I think that's a big reason for the type of success you've seen is just for the way you've just like you just really looked the challenge head on. It's like, this as the saying goes, the only way out is through.
Yeah.
And I think like when you made that decision of like I'm doing this, you really looked it right in the eyes and were like, okay, we're doing this. What are we gonna do about it? So it's yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that I told Charlene about was my insecurity going into like a gym setting.
Hmm.
So whenever I do travel, I would go to like the hotel gym, but I would always scout first. So I would pass by and feel like, okay, there's people in there. I'm not gonna go in there.
Hmm.
And I would avoid it. So then I talked to him about it and he was like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I don't belong there because of the way I look. And, like you see all these people and they're like muscular, they're slender, and they're just like going ham in the gym. And I'm just like, I don't need to be taking up that space. And he was like, well, why not? And then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? He's right. So I would walk into the gym and I would do what I need to do. And then if ever I saw there was someone like using like the only bench and the dumbbells there, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna wait my turn. I'll go and do like some walking or some elliptical. And then once they're done, like I'll go.
Wow.
And there was this one time, um, there was only one bench, and the guy was on there and he got out and he like walked away. So I went and I got in and I did 2 sets. And then I saw that he was kind of looking and I was like, do you need to use the bench? And he was like, is it okay if we alternate? And I was like, yeah. I thought he was going to tell me, yeah, I'd like move. But you'd be surprised how nice people are at the gym.
Yeah.
So that's something that I learned, like, you know what? I have a right, the same as anybody else that's in there, to use the equipment. And, there's no need for me to just walk away or just avoid it
Yeah.
because there's other people there.
Hmm. So true. Wow. That's incredible. I feel like getting over that mental hurdle of getting to the point where the gym feels like where you belong is one of the hardest parts. I remember back this was over a decade now, but I remember like my first time I set foot in a gym, I felt so out of place. I was like, I don't belong here. Like people are gonna make fun of me because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is crazy. Yeah, wow. Really proud of you for pushing through that and embracing like, no, I do belong here. I can use this space. That's really cool. Awesome. Wow. Such good stuff today. What a phenomenal interview. Wow. Thank you for really just like sharing, opening up, pouring. I can just see how you pour from your heart in what you do. So this has been just a wonderful conversation. If anyone watching this wants to reach out and connect, what's the best way for them to do that?
Um, I was gonna say my phone number, but no.
Yeah, probably not.
Um, I have Instagram, but I don't really post a lot on there. Maybe my email.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
You want me to say it or
Yeah, yeah.
okay? KMRTNZ13 at gmail.com.
Okay, sweet. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining, Karina. This was a pleasure. It was great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.